Two world champions of StarCraft 2 collide in what I think we can now call SC2's most unusual rivalry. Now, I can't help but notice, I saw the outrage in the comment section. I'm sure Clem did as well. The polar bear, it's back. His opponent all the way in the top right-hand corner, playing with the blue SCVs. He goes by the name of ByuN. Now, Clem has been playing an awful lot of Protoss against ByuN lately. So much so that I decided to look up the stats. And it turns out that in 2025 so far, every time that Clem played against ByuN, he decided to off-race with Protoss. So over the last 10 months, and this is kind of insane, these two have played against each other 30 times. Clem played Protoss every single time, and the record is 27-3 in Clem's favor. That means that with Protoss, Clem's off-race, he's got a 90% win rate against one of the world's greatest Terran players. Those numbers don't lie. That is a statistic that is just straight up ridiculous. I had no idea it was that extreme. Now, this particular series that we are checking out today is played on the brand new balance patch, and all of these games are from the Team Liquid map contest. So we're going to be seeing both players navigate brand new terrain. Maybe ByuN can finally crack the code against Clem's Protoss, but I guess only time will tell. We're starting off on a map called Magnetic North. Not too odd of a map. We have already seen this one as well in previous series that I have checked out and previous games that I've casted. Across the board, I actually really did like this one. There's, I guess, this feature right over here that is worth noting. So it's an expansion that's pretty safe, but you can knock down the rocks over here to create an extra entrance into the base. Only 4 mineral fields, but a rich Vespian gas geyser. Obviously, though, I would imagine at earliest this is probably a 4th, but much more likely a 5th base. Meaning that we're not going to see it in a lot of the games because, well, quite frequently in SC2, the games end significantly before that part. But for now, Clem has decided to start off with a very quick zealot that he is sending across the map. I like, by the way, how for just a few days, you may have seen that series as well, for just a few days, Clem was once more back to playing Terran, and he decided, I mean, he really did seem very tilted in that particular series. He decided to very rapidly go back to Protoss yet again. Now, of course, this is the most recent version of the balance patch. One of the great frustrations that I think Clem had, as we do have now the Adepts trying to get some more Marine snipes. One of the great frustrations that Clem had before all of these changes went live was the strength of Psystorm. Now, they have nerfed Psystorm a little bit. I think it's gone from like 140 damage if you extend it the full duration to 110, I want to say. I believe in the past it was 85, but obviously it lasts like twice as long now, so the actual damage per second has gone down quite a bit. Anyways, don't quote me on the exact numbers, but they have readjusted Storm, so this is a little bit weaker than the very first iteration of 5.0.15. I can, however, imagine that we will still be seeing Clem play a ton of Storm in this series, just because, I mean, usually, right, when you are when you are a StarCraft player and you have something that you absolutely dread playing against, when you do play the opponent's race, well, usually those are the threats that you opt for. Trust me, I know, as somebody who has sky-tossed many Zerg players over the years, I absolutely dread playing against Skytools as a Zork player. I've never enjoyed it, but there's something very satisfying to playing it yourself. Anyway, Cyclone gets a lock-on, does snipe the Adept. Matter of fact, Drop now also joining in, and ByuN is going to start fishing for whatever he can get. Prism already coming up. We have Blink about 90% of the way done. Clem not bothering to Chrono boost it out. It should finish, and this Natural is up on a high ground. He does get a snipe over here, though, and yeah, maybe we should have had that a little bit quicker. At the very least, he does shut down that one Cyclone. He could have had Blink already done by now, but he decided to just slowly let that upgrade tick along. Take a little bit of damage across the board. And now go in for the counterattack. Now, the Medevac is still hiding off to the side. ByuN may have been threatening to send it all the way back home, but it does mean that Obviously, the defense will be a little bit more difficult. Let's see if maybe the medevac drop, though, can actually get some work done. Reinforcing stalkers were warped in over here. Even though we have a prism on the other side of the map, he did not quite use that yet for warp-in locations, but he did use it to provide some high ground vision. Looks like the medevac is going to go down. A lot of damage, though, is going to be dealt as well to those probes. Nice pickup control here by the Frenchman. Who, by the way, I've been calling him a Terran player, right? But honestly, it feels like over the last... I mean, it's been getting more and more extreme as the year goes on, but I think over the last few months, Clem has been playing substantially more Protoss than Terran. So, should we now consider him a Protoss main? I don't know. Anyway, it's going to be charged on the back of this. Stimpack finally starts up, and I'm expecting combat shields inside of this second tech lab. Third command center will be fired up here in just a moment. There we go. It looks like the dancing is going to continue onwards for a little bit longer. Clem, he does have 3 gateways, but obviously he did already commit into that new nexus. So all of this is very standard, of course, right? For the TVP early game. None of this has really been changed by the new multiplayer balance patch. Now, what I've been finding very curious, right, is that even though players like, for example, Clem seem to be quite tilted against Storm, we have players like Hero that at least in the... I think I've seen 2 series of him so far on the new patch against Terran. Hero, who's considered to be the #1 Protoss player on the planet, has been refusing to play Storm altogether. And that is something that just kind of confuses me, right? So on the one hand, we have a top-level player in Clem who hates playing against Storm. All the other players are, at least all of the Terran players, Zerg players actually as well, are complaining about the new Storm. And then we have players like Hero that are extremely good with Protoss and then have decided that apparently it's not really worth going for it at all. In all of the games that I've seen Hero play against Terran so far, he's been opting to play Mass Zealot Stalker or Mass Robo instead. So it really does make the Protoss situation quite insane. Siege Tank is going to take a load of damage. Nice micro right there by Clem. Trying to slow down this move out right now from ByuN. A very classical move out, of course, right here from ByuN with Stimpack, combat shields, and +1 infantry attacks. One Stalker here misrallied, but the Prism is going to go back in. ByuN does not have the 3rd command center landed yet because it's morphing into an orbital right now. This time around, it's Zealots inside of that Prism. Much like the medevac on the other side of the map previously, this is really just to try and slow down any sort of advancement, as we do have the chase over here in the middle of the map. Couple force fields, okay. Nice snipes right here, though, by ByuN on the sentries. 1 Immortal so far available, and would you look at that, by the way? No Storm. Maybe Clem taking a page as well out of Hero's book here, going straight into the Robo Bay. So everyone complains about Storm, and then we end up playing Robo over and over and over again. You gotta take pro gamer whining as well, I've learned over the years, and I mean in general, StarCraft 2 fan whining with a grain of salt. I mean, the thing is, right? The fact of the matter is, and maybe this is gonna sound a little bit harsh, but if you blame balance, if you blame balance for your losses in like Silver League, it's really just a skill issue, man. Generally though, the pro gamers, they should have a very good grasp on the meta. But usually they also enjoy a little bit of balance whining just to play some StarCraft 2 politics. Maybe if you complain enough, at some point, it will go in your favor. Anyways, Clem is looking for an opportunity here at the front. Not really getting the job done all too well. ByuN already automatically going into Ghost right now. He's not scouting much. Colossi obviously now deal bonus damage against light. Or they've always done that, but the thing that changed here is that the Ghosts are now light. Nice pickup control right here yet again though by Clem, feigning that he was AFK with that Prism. But I think the Vikings should still... Oh my lord, just still be able to get the kill! Ah, drop it! Drop it, Clem! Drop it! Okay, there you go. He does drop it in the end, but the question is, at what cost? Reinforcing units show up right now for the Protoss. Prism though has gone down, Immortal is gone, Colossus has disappeared. A new one is arriving on the front lines, but these engagements have not been going well for Protoss at all. And slowly but surely, ByuN is chipping away at the opponent's army. Now, he's autopiloting into Ghosts, so in order to make up for the Ghosts being more killable, they now have light armor, and Colossi deal bonus damage against light. They also have gained 25 additional hit points. So, yes, they are light, but they've gone from 100 to 125 HP to make up for it. And they're also back down to 2 supply each. Couple of Widow Mines in the middle of the map. Trying to get some free pickings. Not going to happen for now. Looks like we are going to be going into a 5th Nexus in just a moment. But for the time being, I really do like this position here for ByuN quite a bit. The only thing that has me concerned for ByuN is that he never fired up 2-2. So he's adding on barracks 5, 6, or 6, 7, and 8 rather. But he's never fired up the +2/+2 upgrades. There it finally starts. But this feels a little late. In the meantime, we have the +3 researching on the other side, together with the +1. Clem starting off with a single one of those forges, and then, well, pulling ahead in that department for just a moment. Neither player, though, really in a position to try and push for a win. We're actually going to go up to 4 Colossi. It used to be the norm for years, back when robo-openers were very common in this matchup. It used to be the norm to have 4 Colossi every once in a while. But you would usually sit on 3. So, going up to 4 here is 100% going to be forcing out a lot of Vikings. Now, with the new balance patch, Vikings are now 25 minerals cheaper. I don't really know who requested a Viking buff. Maybe some very strong Terran lobbying coming in yet again. There have always been some of those changes to every single patch note over the years, where Terran just gets what is looking like a seemingly random buff to me. This time around, it's Vikings that are 25 minerals cheaper. Either way, Clem's looking for an angle, can't really find it. ByuN would normally be finishing up 2-2 right about right now. As you can see, though, those upgrades are quite late, and that might create an opportunity here for Clem to get some real damage done. Then again, though, the Colossi are being chipped away at by those Vikings. Good force fields to slice some of those Immortals in half, or some of those Marauders in half. But across the board, ByuN stands his ground very, very nicely. All right, so we're heading into the next stage of TVP, and I haven't really seen this much yet on the new patch. If at all, actually. I'm trying to think. Have we seen a proper late game? I don't think so. Fusion Core coming up. Fusion Core is usually for 2 upgrades for Terran. Usually you get the ranged for the Liberators. Now, Liberators have been changed quite a bit as well. And then you also get the energy regen for the Medivacs. Both of those upgrades are hidden behind the Fusion Core's tech. You need to be careful, though. It's all very expensive. Zealots are breaking open the natural expansion, and quite a few SCVs are actually paying the price. Curious to see if Clem will also be making a transition towards the skies. For now, it'll be a Dark Shrine together with another Robo. So that is robotics facility number 2. Dance in the middle of the map continues, though, and it looks like by the long legs on the ground that one of the Colossi ended up going down. Still, though, the Vikings are not quite strong enough to shut this down reliably. And for now, it's been a dance back and forth in the middle of the map for some time already, with neither player really pulling out ahead too much. ByuN is reading this very well, though. He is starting to make that transition towards a proper late game way earlier here than Clem. Clem's eco is not bad, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have a Skytools transition. No Tempest or anything along those lines for him. Whereas ByuN is already going into Mass Command Center, +2 air weapons. He's getting the Fusion Core upgrades going. He is preparing for a proper late game. And once the Liberators start coming out, it will be very difficult for this ground army of the Protoss to really stand their ground some more. Obviously, this is still on a razor's edge. It can be very easy to slip up here as a Terran. But plenty of units available. A mass stim, by the way. That almost looks like an all-army hotkey stim. But, I mean, he's getting another Colossus for his troubles. Yeah. Good micro. There's a few Immortals in the mix yet again here for the Protoss. So those Marauders need to be careful of that. But the micro here from ByuN has been excellent. Dark Templar blink coming up. That's nice and all. But this is lacking that oomph, right? That we've been seeing in the Hero and in the Max Specs games. Where, yeah, Clem is playing some fine Protoss. He's doing a good job. But it doesn't look nearly as strong as when you see those other two Protoss players that I just named play it. And what exactly has gone wrong here? Yeah, hard to say. None of those engagements have gone particularly great for him. He hasn't been able to really get the Prism in the main base and do like a really big warp in or a massive Zealot run by into the natural expansion. We've seen attempts, but none of them were particularly successful. We also have no High Templar here, which again I find very curious, especially on maps with so many good choke points to be using. I think ByuN can actually just fight this straight up. There are a couple Dark Templar though in the mix, and those Dark Templar now finally get noticed. They blink away. They did get a good bit of damage done though. Don't disrespect the Dark Templar, man. As straight up fighting units, we rarely see them. But they hit very, very hard. Some of the absolute highest damage per second in all of StarCraft 2. Yeah. I love that. Terran players never make Ravens. So you may as well, you know, try to get some free pickings. This is the unit, though, that I am a little bit concerned for. The Liberators are starting to come out. Numbers are still manageable. It's only 4. But once you go up to about 8, any Protoss ground unit composition becomes very difficult. And there's really no indication here that Clem is planning on transitioning towards Skytos. Rich Gas Geyser in the bottom right corner of Magnetic North has been taken. ByuN, of course, not able to really expand as easily, but he has a lot of orbital commands already. We're up to 5 of those bad boys at this point in time, and he is once more coming in from a couple different angles. Disruptors are coming up, but this is a great fight yet again here for the South Korean Terran. Oh, alright. That Disruptor came out of nowhere. First time that ByuN sees it. Still, though, doesn't even really matter. Yeah, I don't think he can really capitalize on this and, like, roll through this army just yet. And as a matter of fact, ByuN has decided to go back to SCV production. He has been losing quite a few of them. If he doesn't actually expand soon, he's gonna need another base. I feel like his options are either expand or push. And so far, Clem is doing a very good job taking as many bases as he can muster. He's also doing a good job keeping this Terran army at bay. He may not have the biggest amount of army, but he's taking the correct positions every time. ByuN may be getting a little bit carried away in microing his units. One of the things he's well known for, of course, but sometimes to his own detriment. I think it's fine. Yeah, Disruptor is gonna go down. Another Colossus is gonna live? No. Another Colossus is gonna scramble up in a pile of legs. GG gets cold. And ByuN gets a very solid win in game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on one of the absolute worst named maps in StarCraft 2 history. This particular map is called Missing You Today. What? Excuse me, what? Missing You Today? How is that a map name? We can do better than that, I'm sure. Anyway. The map is pretty nice. I haven't seen any games on it just yet, but I did like the layout across the board when I had a look at the TOMC finalists. Missing You Today. Do you think we need rules as far as StarCraft 2 map names go? As far as I know, right, there's only been like one instance where they actually changed the map when it became a ladder map. Maybe there have been multiples, but there was a map called Frost Giant that when it became a ladder map was renamed because, of course, Frost Giant, I mean, at the time it was just announced that Stormgate was in production. This is quite a few years ago at this point, and obviously, yeah, having a map in StarCraft 2 used in official tournaments called Frost Giant LE may have had some issues. May have been a little bit controversial, to say the least, so they ended up renaming the map. But I'm not sure what missing you today would even imply. Either way, it is pretty. I quite like the texture here in the background. Look at all these triangles. Some interesting triangles, though. They're all a little elongated. Are they? Or is it just... maybe one of those optical illusions. Somebody get out the ruler. You know, if once upon a time you were in love, right? Say there's a girl you really liked, but things didn't work out. You know the way that you can get her back? Participate in the Team Liquid map contest. Make a map, and then make one that is so good that it becomes a ladder map, and then call it Missing You Today. I think that is success guaranteed. I mean, if she doesn't take you back at that point, she wasn't worth it. Let's be real. I mean, to be fair, if my girlfriend would make a StarCraft 2 ladder map, that would be genuinely very impressive to me. I'm not gonna lie. I understand that I am a very niche subject for this sort of thing. But if your partner were to make a StarCraft 2 map that actually becomes an official tournament and ladder map, I mean, I feel like that would be an absolute no-brainer. So maybe Missing You Today is not that bad. It's just a little bit pathetic. Anyways, Robo facility opener yet again, but of course, that doesn't mean we're not going to be seeing Storm. Do you think Clem is not going to go Storm again? My previous game was just... It wasn't bad, but he just sort of fizzled out. Across the board, ByuN just simply outplayed him. APM-wise, both players, of course, plenty fast. I never really open up this little menu, but I always like it. Whenever I open this, I always think about doing it more frequently, and I never do. We have a lot of cool menus that I can use. I'm a big fan of the army size and the units lost tab, right? Also, income is nice. Income advantage graph is nice. The APM tab, not as useful, but still nice to get at least a little bit of an understanding. But I think, you know, if you've watched some StarCraft before, or maybe you've tried playing it, you probably know that pro gamers are really freaking fast. By the way, I never set the scoreboard right there. I immediately jumped into my rant of Missing You Today. Observer gets scanned immediately. Nice bit of vision right there from ByuN. So we do go into the good old Immortal together with the Zealot opener. Alright. So I'm assuming, yeah, Robo Bay yet again. Now, of course, the patch is brand new, right? Like, it's only a few days old, really. And as far as StarCraft 2 patches go, it usually takes a while before pro gamers really know what is good and what is great. I am not convinced that the Robo-based start really is the best way to play, but I mean, I guess Clem, he felt, I guess, Hero's Wrath. He must have seen some of those Hero games, and he must have been impressed by it. We're gonna once more extend our thermal lenses. Grab your thermal lenses. Hold them firmly. We're gonna extend. Well, it will still be a couple minutes. Either way, it's expensive too, man. It takes a long time, it's expensive. Don't know if it's worth it. I think Storm might be better. Anyways. Do we have enough to just simply defend a little timing attack here from Terran? This is one of those classic openers, of course, from Terran. Just a good old triple Rex. But there's a third base on the back of this, so really not that committed. ByuN just dancing on the other side, skipping all the medevac production up until just now, and getting those units across the map to get a bit of damage done. Still though, 3 Marauders and 12 Marines also ended up paying the price. And now with the charge slot showing up here more and more frequently, it is quite difficult. Obviously, Stimpack also deals damage to your own friendlies, so without medevacs, it's quite difficult to get the job done. One SCV gets killed, but it already finished up the job of building that orbital command up. And Well, it's currently Clem who gets to be the aggressor. He can't really do too much until his lance is extended. Ooh, nice little bit of pickup micro there by ByuN, saving the units inside of the medevac there. Pretending the medevac is a warp prism. Alright. Well, even without range, honestly, the Colossus is still scary. The dancing will continue. Widow mines are being set up as well, though, so that's going to nullify a lot of those zealots. They're always scary. He really wants to engage the SCV line, but ByuN is doing an excellent job keeping all of this alive. Always makes you wonder why we don't see a single bunker or something like that set up, right? It's so nice to just simply have a little bit of a backbone here, but well, you know what? With the second Colossus here, this Protoss army is going to get better over the next few minutes. With the second Colossus showing up, the command center itself taking a lot of damage. Now the extended thermal lens upgrade is just about to finish. I think we're like one warp-in of Zealots away from this being an absolute disaster for ByuN. Then again, though, the SCVs are already dying, and while, yeah, they are sacrificing themselves to tank some of the damage, all the Marines are gone, a lot of the SCVs have disappeared, the medevacs are now pretty much all out of energy. What we are really lacking here is proper Viking production. Like, we have a couple of them coming out right now. One of the Colossi is dangerously low. I would love to see the Prism back again. Marauders trying to run forward. Vikings now getting close as well. And I do believe that both of the Colossi, if not all three of them, will end up going down. But the question is, has there not already been too much damage dealt? Nice plays right here by Clem. A lot more committed this time around than in the previous game. Very hero-esque, if I'm being honest with you. This is exactly what a hero would do. In the meantime, of course, since he lost the Prism, the parade push is coming from this newly made fourth base. Yeah, and there's just really no stopping the flood. Clem gets a win on the board as well, and he does so very dominantly. Alrighty, and with the score evened up, we find ourselves on a white rabbit. We gotta find it. Where is the white rabbit? We have all these matrix-colored, well, green lines over here. The green and black, I suppose. You can just see the text scrolling across your screen if you kind of squint. Or maybe if you take off your glasses. Either way. Do you think there's an Easter egg somewhere on this map? Do you think the white rabbit is real? We have a white polar bear. Honestly, when you think about it, the comparisons between white polar bears and white rabbits, I mean, they're both mammals. They both have fur. They both have tongues. They both have 2 eyes. They both have a nose, 2 ears. The comparisons are staggering. Either way, hallucinated Phoenix opener this time around for Mr. Clement, who will be going into the good old Stalker as well for base defense, but this was, of course, the golden standard on the previous patch. Now, one very big change that they've made, and honestly, maybe it's still too good. Seems like that is the general sentiment that I've seen on the internet lately. Hallucinations in the form of energy recharge, yes, it's nerfed. So the energy recharge ability is not quite as strong as it once used to be, but it's still pretty darn strong. It doesn't really seem to matter that much, where some of the other changes are more significant adjustments, but certainly a step in the right direction, I think. Protoss, by the way, in case you're not really following along with tournament results too much, since the new patch, I believe every single smaller online tournament has been won by a Protoss. I don't think a single tournament so far has been won by either Terran or Zerg. Now, obviously, you gotta take that with a grain of salt. I haven't seen Cero play anything yet, other than, I think, 3 games he played on his live stream at some point, of which he lost 2 against Protoss. Anyway, we have the medevac drop going into the main base, while the Hellions are darting around in the natural, trying to get some kills on those probes as well. So far, though, Clem is maneuvering around the probes very nicely. Losing some units, yes. But not too much. Medevac over here, though, now finally out of energy, really putting in a lot of work. Hellion trying to go back in for more, but of course it takes 3 Hellions to one-shot a probe. And was that really worth it right there for the Terran player? I mean, that was expensive. The main problem now is that you're effectively giving up all map control. Yeah, he can go into a 3rd command center. He can obviously start a stim pack and the whole shenanigans there. There he goes. But it's gonna be a while until he can really do much more. We do have the Raven, so that's nice. We can send the unit out. Maybe drop a couple auto turrets down. Maybe hang it over here in the dead space. But across the board, not really a... yeah, hyper successful opener here for ByuN. It's just that you're always just in such a defensive position now, right? So he's effectively forcing his own hand. And it becomes very predictable now. Clem can effectively do whatever he likes. Robo Bay again. Stalker Dance, in the meantime, has begun on the other side of the map. So for a man that was rage quitting against Storm just a couple days ago, he sure seems to ignore it. Fascinating. So the main change, the main interaction that's changed is that the Ghost is now a light unit. Other than that, are there any changes in the new multiplayer balance patch that make Colossi significantly more viable? I've been thinking about this for a little bit. I'm not exactly sure what has prompted all this Robo Bay play. Maybe I'm missing something very obvious. But across the board, I feel like this has always been a viable strategy. But Protoss players just simply haven't been playing it as frequently lately. Just because of the prevalence of Storm and how powerful that research is, and obviously the Mass Zealot, Mass Stalker type of games as well. I mean, those are also super popular, where Protoss pretty much plays like a Zerg. Those are strats that we have seen time and time again, and Roboplay taking a bit more of like a back seat. But Roboplay is still perfectly viable. It's still very, very strong. Protoss certainly the race, though, with the most variety at this point. Terran kind of stuck in their own little corner. I'm not exactly sure. Like, Terran obviously has a lot of variety in the first few minutes. Minute 1 through 4 or so, you can basically produce anything and kind of make it work. But I feel like in the mid-game, Terran is quite... yeah, quite stale. You're really sort of stuck on Marine Marauder, Medevac, and then Siege Tanks or Widow Mines for support. Maybe the Terran mech styles were a little bit too good because of that Cyclone bug that has now been fixed in the new patch, but while I thought it was too strong in Terran versus Zerg, I really did quite like seeing that variety in Terran versus Protoss. But I guess now with the Cyclone bug fixed, it's very unlikely that we're going to be seeing it again, so... I'm a little bit, and maybe this is too early to say, but I'm a little bit afraid that maybe Terran is going to become a bit too predictable now. There's not really a whole lot of aggressive early game options, other than, I guess, Reaper rushes or some sort of cheese. You know what I would really like to see? And I've been saying this time and time, but I would really like to see battle cruisers be viable. I think they're such a cool unit. But they're so incredibly expensive and they take so freaking long to make. So why would you bother? I think more battle cruisers... like, I think anybody would like more battle cruisers. Am I mistaken? We see Brute Lords now again in the meta because of the Brute Lord fix. The Brute Lord really is a very powerful unit now. Obviously, we see carriers and tempests quite frequently. I don't want to see battlecruisers every game, but I would like them to be on the same viability level. Is that a thing? It's a thing now. I would like them to be as viable as, say, for example, Brute Lords. Relatively niche, but still really fun to see when they do finally come out. Terran, technically the race with the most units, if I'm not mistaken, like in absolute numbers. They have a load, but it's, yeah, not really too viable in this matchup. You kind of just end up with the same unit comps over and over and over again. Now, Clem again mixing it up, though. Gets a Siege Tank for his troubles here first and foremost, but while the Colossi are out, And while he did transition, it gets another siege tank. While he did transition to disruptors earlier on in this series, we are bringing them out way quicker. And maybe that's one of the reasons, right, why Clem has been loving Protoss so much. You just have so many options. You can go Storm, you can go Robo, you can play that Zergy style. And when you play each of those options, you can go for Storm drops, you can play it passively, you can play it on 2 bases, you can play it on 4. You can play Robos, right, and then go into really quick Immortals. With Zealots, for example, you can go quick Colossi. You can go up to 3, you can go up to 4, you can transition into Disruptors. You can go straight Disruptors if you want to. You can play Dark Shrine. I mean, there's a lot of fun options available, whereas I feel like with Terran, you're just kind of always serving as a punching bag in this matchup. And while it's technically winnable, it certainly does feel like Protoss gets to have more fun. It's also that playstyle, though, that ByuN has been going for lately, right? Like, once upon a time, ByuN was very active, out on the map, moving around the battlefield and doing these confident drops into the opponent's main base. But now, look at the way that he's set up, right? Like, he is not planning on doing anything. His main goal is to not die. Vikings coming in around the side, though, and obviously if Clem overextends, then ByuN will happily go across. Yeah, and those Viking numbers are quite sketchy. Disruptor showing up, getting quite a bit of damage done, though. 8 kills just like that with 1 Purification Nova. Oof. No response there. It looks like we're going to go bowling. Loads and loads and loads of Robo units coming out this series so far. But this time around, we go for a heavy focus on Disruptors. Ooh, nice mix-up right there from ByuN, though. You ran through that Nova, got out on the other side, and got a good bit of damage done. Nice engagement here from ByuN, actually. He's celebrating with the production of a fusion core again. But he's not feeling confident enough to really test the waters on the other side of the map. Can't blame him too much. +3/+3 is still coming. These are all very expensive investments into the late game to make. And of course, at this point in time, he doesn't really have the units to be pushing through yet. Clem, by the way, playing this far more confidently now than he did in game number 1. Taking base after base after base, confidently tech switching all over the place and trying his best to, yeah, just put on that pressure. Almost soft containing his opponent on the other side of the map. ByuN has this easy to take base over here on the low ground, though. I don't think that one should be too much of a hassle. Same for the base up here. I think that's relatively manageable. One of the big changes, of course, in the new patch 2, yeah, big-ish, is the fact that the Dark Templar Blink has a lower cooldown again. So, back in the day, or the Blink itself is still on the same cooldown, but back in the day when you would blink with the Dark Templar, they would basically have like a 1-second delay before they would start attacking. And right now, that delay has been reduced substantially. So when you blink with the Dark Templar, they will immediately attack. And that's exactly what Clem is doing right now as well. Well, he's not even really using Blink, just mostly using it defensively, but getting a good little double-pronged attack down here. Push up north has been one, the push down south has been one as well. Really making it difficult for ByuN to take another expansion while he's taking everything on his side of the map. Still though, we've seen this in game number 1, right? And obviously game number 1 was won by ByuN. Confidently as well. Look at this. Clem taking a base from the opponent. ByuN doesn't know of it. He doesn't have a sensor tower in that section. But we are just expanding left, right, and center now. Super easy one, of course, for the Terran player to kill. But Clem is oozing confidence. Having a grand old time denying the base over here again. Ooh, Dark Templar blink around as well. Dude, I love how Clem is using Dark Templar as part of his core army. Basically, Dark Templar, right, at this phase, you can kind of view them as like zealots that are way more expensive, but also have way more damage output. And when you view them like that, yeah, may as well mix them into your main army composition. It's only been 7 so far, but I think if we count up the total amount of kills that they have been gathering over the course of the game, they ended up dying now, but I think they certainly came out as a net positive. Still though, you can see it still reflected in the supply count, right? Yeah, Clem is having a good time, but it's not like ByuN's army is dwindling much, and we're once more heading into Liberator territory. Advanced Ballistics, that's the ranged upgrade for the Libs. Just about to finish up as well. And ByuN does now secure the base on the low ground. Liberators are also very good at chasing this sort of thing down, and there has not really been an intention right here from Clem to transition towards Skytles yet again. I think he can. He's got the money to plant down some Stargates, but look at this. ByuN is starting to break through. Those Disruptors just changed the tide of those anti-ground battles so quickly. Clem is continuously making Robo units and Zealots here, which is nice and all, but it means that the Liberators can only really be countered here by Stalkers, and the Stalkers just have a difficult time getting into position. This is why those Liberators are so freaking good. Alright. Well, they're also expensive. Yeah. There are also certainly not cheap. Some Dark Templar again are running around. Base in the top left, by the way, finished up a long time ago. He didn't really achieve too much with it. Hasn't really been mining for many of those mineral fields that he secured. And I'm a little bit afraid that as time goes on, this is getting worse and worse right now for Clem. He's still in a great spot, don't get me wrong. But I like the position from ByuN way more than I did a few minutes ago. ByuN's now going to find out about this base. He's had a sensor tower over here all this time, but he simply didn't want to... He didn't bother putting one down a little bit closer to the left. A couple photon cannons coming up as well. And he takes the base on the right. Liberators do get sniped yet again by the Stalkers. No planetary in this area anymore. It does mean that Protoss can push a little bit more ambitiously, but for now, A-okay. Clem, of course, a very momentum-driven player, right? And he's trying to create that momentum for himself here. He wants these games to snowball so badly. So he's pretty much inviting his opponent to come and face off against him. Both with the aggressive Nexus positioning, but also right now with those Colossi. ByuN absolutely destroying his wrists, by the way, with playing games like this. Those Terran splits are so tough. Okay. It's nice to have those workers, huh? ByuN has decided that 69 is the exactly... Oh, well, it used to be the exact right number. Right now, 4 of them got destroyed by a bowling ball. Clem, though, sitting at a substantially bigger eco, although some of them are being harassed to death as well. Cheeky little Liberator in the meantime on the left side, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Honestly, getting a good bit of damage done. ByuN is now pushing his opponent all the way back home. Vikings are destroying the Colossi at this point in time as well. Nice work there. Which, I mean, yeah, that means that once more we can begin the Liberator production. He's only got 2 starports at this point in time. I wouldn't even mind seeing a third added into the mix in a moment. Maybe the eco is not quite big enough for that, though. Finally! Hey! Clem, he had this surprise for you prepared about 5 minutes ago, ByuN. Yeah. Yeah, you're not very fun to buy gifts for. I will be honest. Clem was so excited to share it. What in the world's going on here? There's a random factory landed in the mineral line, building a widow mine. Alright. Very sneaky indeed. It's like me playing Metal Gear Solid. I'm not the sneakiest player out there. It worked. Alright, in the meantime, the real fight is still happening. This tug of war in the middle of the map. Liberators, though, on the flanks. Widow mines as well on the flanks. A little Marine Marauder group, too. And I gotta say, ByuN is doing a really good job managing this defense. Like, Clem's desperately trying to get this game to end. But ByuN is not giving this up. And honestly, he may very well be ahead at this point in time. It all comes down, though, to the splitties right here. And so far, the splitties are good. Liberator's not really helping out too much. He decides to back up to the safety of those circles. Zealots once more trying to charge forward, but not a lot of control there. Overextension on the Disruptor. Now the Colossi themselves are being hit by Marauders. Of course, while this is going on, we have more and more harassment. I would have loved to see Clem maybe transfer workers to here a little bit sooner, because, I mean, even if right now the base over here dies, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, this has been very little hurt. As long as ByuN can take it eventually, it doesn't really matter too much for him. Oh, we have a little heart right over here on the minimap. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? With the way that those mineral fields laid out. A little hole in the middle. Aww. Anyways, the Colossi hate love. So they've decided to go in and use their laser beams on some of the Zealots and some of the SCVs right over here on the left. No way. Can I call this a Planetary Fortress rush? Will anybody call me out if I put this on the YouTube thumbnail? I mean, it's a 22-minute rush, okay? Look, this never happens. You know how hard it is to make thumbnails and titles for videos when you've made 5,000 of them? I know sometimes people get a little upset over the clickbait, and I get it. Hate the player, hate the game, I don't know. But anyways, that was a perfect moment right there, man. I'm gonna put that on the thumbnail. I feel like that's the most aggressive play that ByuN has made all game. Planetary Fortress. Right in your face. Honestly, I think ByuN is doing this. He's showing us why this playstyle of his, while maybe passive at the start, is so freaking good. Sure, it may be predictable, but Clem is unable to really drive home the win. And he's been trying. He's been pushing for ages. He's done an awful lot of damage as well across the map. But ByuN is not gonna go down without a fight. Clem is effectively headbutting a wall. Don't recommend it. Bad for your health. And you can feel the momentum shift, right? If you compare this to 10 minutes ago, Clem was having a good time, taking bases, left, right, and center, massive bank, huge amount of supply. ByuN was kind of just sitting back and trying to not die in the process. But we are now past the not dying part. Now, it is critical, though, for ByuN to actually get new bases up. That is the main concern that I have right now. This expansion is so freaking far away. I think taking the base over here in the top left is indeed the way to go. Yeah. ByuN now also, obviously, White Rabbit is still a very new map. He's maybe played 2 or 3 games on it. Mispositioning his eco there a little bit is going to slow everything down. Still, though, the Marauders and the Colossi, yep, they're having a pretty good exchange. Vikings are going to finish the job, and that's another one of the Colossi going down. Now the Marines and the Marauders are coming in from the side as well. Disruptors are desperately trying to run for their lives. Oh, running through the Nova is dangerous, man. Clem decided to retarget some of it. But that's the end of the Disruptors. That was expensive, though. Did ByuN just overcommit? Well, we still have a load of medevacs available, and because of that Caduceus reactor research, the medevacs are also full of energy despite this non-stop aggression. In the meantime, we have Dark Templar running into the main base. Slicing up whatever they can. But finally, ByuN managed to get some real damage done on the other side. Clem now trying to see if maybe he can secure a new base over here, but I mean, long distance mining that mineral line is going to take an extremely long time to return. Oh, I love this. Blinks away, morphs into Archons and Recalls. Now, one of them ended up going down. Still better than nothing. Probe blocking the command center. He was there anyways. Stalkers and Zealots moving back in yet again. 519 average APM, by the way, here for Clem throughout this game. This is one of those matches where both players are playing with a blood pressure that is way too high. You're effectively running a marathon while sitting in your chair. I know some StarCraft players play with a standing disc. I don't know how to do it. Seriously exhausting. ByuN has cash once more coming in. And while Clem has been ahead, I think for about maybe 20-ish minutes now, income-wise, I've got a feeling if ByuN can actually hold on to this base, that he can pull ahead in that department for the first time in this game. Expertly managed so far right here by the South Korean Terran, although he is going to lose an orbital command right over here in the middle. No expansion anymore on the right side. Yeah, Clem is running out of juice. He still has this mineral line right over here, meaning that these two have effectively become neighbors in the top left-hand corner. Now, White Rabbit is a map that is mirrored from the bottom left to the top right. So this section of the map is quite different. And I do like the spot here better for Protoss up on this high ground. Still though, Clem is going to try and move around the site, giving up some of that positional advantage in my book, but he does have an awful lot of units. But here's the Terran flank coming in. Units come stemming in as well from the main base, from the natural expansion. The Colossi are desperately trying to run a little bit of a move command. Miss micro right there from Clem, and that may cost him dearly as the entirety of the Protoss army gets wiped off the map. GG gets called. ByuN, we had to fight for this one, but he obtains the victory. Next up, we find ourselves on everybody's second favorite galaxy. We find ourselves on Andromeda. All right. By the way, I've been wondering about this for a while. One of my neighbors is, I think, doing like an extension to their house or whatever. They have been drilling for hours and hours and hours. They started at like 7:30 this morning. Good times. Look, I'm self-employed, okay? I'm not gonna wake up at 7 to record videos. It doesn't make any sense. Why would I do that? I'd rather record late in the evening than very early in the morning. Anyways, I've been told that my microphone doesn't pick any of it up. I used to have a different microphone years ago that would like amplify all of the sound. So whenever there was like literally any roadworks going on or any of my neighbors, I don't know, doing anything, it would just make it very loud. It's super noticeable for me in the background, but I don't think my microphone's picking it up. But they've been drilling for a while, so in case you've been hearing some noise, that would be it. Probably not, though. I think it's good. Turns out spending money on an audio setup may have been worthwhile. When I first picked up all this audio gear, I thought it would be overkill. But, then again, it's been serving for years, and it's pretty nice. Sounds pretty good. Anyway, Twilight Council coming up right now for Clem yet again. Andromeda, another one of the TLMC finalists. I haven't really looked around this map all too much. It's a curious one, right? I may have casted a game on this one before, now that I'm thinking about it. The map is very It's wide but narrow. Most maps in StarCraft 2 are pretty square. This one is a lot more rectangular. Nice to see. It's going to be a triple Rex opener yet again here for ByuN. We've seen that before. Usually that makes the games go by a little bit faster, but of course there is already a third command center right over here too. It means that he's delaying the, well, for example, medevac and any additional tech that he can go for. But it allows him a lot of pushing potential, hiding the Marines up on the high ground. By the way, again, right? ByuN is now at a 10% win rate against Clem's Protoss over the course of 2025. They have played against each other 30 times. ByuN has lost 27 times against Clem's Protoss. So, considering this is an important tournament match, ByuN is 2-1 up, and he's playing some expert StarCraft 2. I mean, I think today is the day. I actually don't know the results of this, so I'm excited. Now, will we see Storm? Will we see Storm from Clem? I mean, at this point, the gloves are off. We're one game away from disaster. Will we go Robo again? Into Robo Bay, of course. Or will we go into a good old Templar Archives? Engineering Bay coming up right here for Mr. ByuN. Stalkers going in around the site. We have the Prism over here to provide high ground vision. It's a 4-gate. Clem has decided to go for a 4-gate. Odd these days. Yeah, good repair over here, though. Pulling just enough boys to keep that bunker alive. 4-gate is not the norm anymore. Usually we see 3 gates these days, although sometimes even 2. Sometimes Hero goes for a single-gate triple Nexus, which is insane. Anyway, 4-gate means that you're very committed to pressure, but Clem did make a third base on the back of this anyway. So you delay your third in favor of an additional gateway, and obviously you have to make up for that difference somehow, some way. I thought we were going to go into the main. I'm not going to lie. I feel like you can go into the main, but he really wants to break the bunker. Finally gets the job done. Marines and Marauders, though, in plenty big numbers available right now. He knows that Stimpack is finite, so running away is probably your best choice. No medevacs available yet, so any stim right now is pricey. Clem says, do it again. Stim again, dude. Do it again, coward. You won't. Medevacs, though, are starting to slowly appear. Clem, by the way, going into charge. No Robo Bay this time. There's the stim activated. There's also the medevac showing up, though. And the dance has been good. Probes are starting to come out for the third. Third command center for the Terran in the meantime, also flying on over. Okay. Big power spikes, though, here for Terran, right? With Stimpack now done, combat shields now finished, plus 1 infantry attacks, seconds away from done. No splash damage in any way, shape, or form right here for Clem. So we're gonna go for the mass gateway unit approach, it seems, but he needs to get damage done right now. Aggressive blink forward. He does get one of the medevacs. Zealots have successfully sliced some of these units off. No anti-air available over here, so the Prism sneaks into the main. Cheeky little bit of micro right there from Clem. Flying over the Marauders. Big warp in as well inside of the mineral line. Stalkers are certainly committing again, yeah, over at the third base location. Few of the Zealots were picked up. All 4, actually, that he could fit inside of the Prism. 2 of them were left behind. Looks like we're going to go back around the natural. Clem desperately trying to do what Hero does. Right? Where, like, you look at the worker count, and all of a sudden, Terran's sitting at, like, 42. And you realize, okay, Hero's done it again. Just playing pure Stalker, pure Zealot. Hero has managed to get an advantage, but so far, that advantage has left, yeah, a little bit to be desired for right here for Clem. Not really getting a whole lot of value. ByuN doing an excellent job so far, being the defender, although he still needs to be so careful. Medevacs are dying, and they really are the lifeline to this strategy for the Terran player. Okay, you know what? The Zealots are starting to break through now. 9 SCVs have died. More and more of them are going to fall as well, though. And while eventually I think ByuN should be able to stabilize, it is all about the amount of damage. Oh, maybe the orbital command. Maybe the orbital command itself. It's all about the amount of damage that has been done. Big reinforcement of Zealots, by the way. He's now also warping in yet again inside of the main base. Is Clem still able to pull this off? It seemed to me like ByuN was starting to get the advantage in this match, but Clem decided to just persist through all of this. The target firing on the Medevacs has been excellent. GG gets gold. That means we're going to game number 5. And that means it all comes down to this. Winter Madness. Final game in this series. And apparently ByuN has decided to do at least a little bit of aggression. Ooh, I like the snow effect, by the way, on this map. I wonder if it gets annoying at some point, but I kind of love it. Maybe falling snow makes any map better. You know, there's a lot of people out there that believe that, like, adding rain sound effects to music makes every song better. There's entire websites dedicated to this stuff where you basically just mix a bunch of rain sounds into your favorite songs. Maybe your favorite maps with snow effects are gonna get better until your eyes start chasing individual snowflakes. Oh god, it's happening! No! Ah! Not good. Anyway. Oh my god, it's everywhere. Winter Madness. Now, Clem is looking around, and he has noticed that there is nothing here inside of the main base of the opponent. I mean, he sees a gas geyser, he sees an orbital, so there's certainly a barracks out there somewhere. But where is it? It's a very conservative proxy, though. And the proxy is, yeah, gonna be able to maybe get some damage done on the other side of the map eventually, but we're missing a little bit of that fire in ByuN's early game. Finally, we go across the map. Stalker is like, hey guys, I thought you were gonna come out and play. Oh, dude, this choke point here in the middle of Winter's Madness is insane. Okay, nice control right there, though, by ByuN. Let me actually flip the scoreboard right there. I always like to have the player that spawns in the bottom of the map, in the bottom of the scoreboard in the production tab, and vice versa. Nice micro right there, though, by ByuN. Getting the unit caught in the middle. This is a very tight choke point. That was like a one stalker with. Curious. It's only a triple Reaper start, though, so it's not even really that committed. The one thing that this does sort of force out is a lack of a sentry. It's a bit sketchy right now for Protoss to open up with a sentry against this sort of thing, I believe, where normally you might want to go Stalker into sentry. In this particular instance, Clem has gone only for units that are actually useful in a straight-up fight. Sorry to my sentry brothers out there, but you guys tickle rather than deal damage. This area looks quite wide. Big ramp over here. I haven't seen a game on this map yet. It looks pretty darn good. Rich Vespian gas geyser. These are some proper committed rocks. Yeah, I don't mind them. I will say, though, most of the maps in this TOMC are all relatively boring. I wouldn't mind smacking a giant healing circle right over here in the middle of the map. Or just in general, add a bunch of speed up stuff around the sites. I would like a little bit more craziness added into the mix. And I feel like every time I talk to people about this, they all agree. Yeah, like strange maps, or at least maps with interesting features would be awesome. But then we always end up in maps that look mostly the same. Obviously, the main problem is balance, right? That's one of the big issues that you run into when you create those weird-looking maps. The odds of your maps getting vetoed as well in the process of tournaments are rather big, but I think it's nice. Especially with 9 maps in a map pool, you can have at least like 2 or 3 maps that are a little bit more out there. If it was up to me, I would make like 5. 5 that are out there. Anyway. Is this what I think it is? Yo! Yo! Somebody called a newspaper. Do we still call those? I don't know. I'm showing my age. Somebody look up the number of the newspaper in the phone book. Send me the proof of this on a floppy disk. Look at it. We have Psystorm. We're going High Templar. Wow. I mean, this has been the absolute gold standard for everyone out there, except for Hero, and then apparently also for Clem. First time in this series, and this has been a long match, by the way. First time in this series that we have the Psionic Storm. I mean, I guess it's clear. The weather forecast on this map has been stormy already. I guess you can have snow without storm. Yeah, although I feel like the two usually coincide quite nicely, at least over here. I love the Protoss players that siege up their observers and then realize, oh crap, right, they get revealed. Well, ByuN saw it. So ByuN, by the way, has been going Ghost every single game, even against the non-High Templar focused unit compositions, right? So I think it's fair to say we'll probably see them blindly yet again. They've still been very useful as well against the Zealots. And, well, the fact that they remove shields is obviously quite good. Let's see. ByuN yet again, though. Yeah, playing this pretty slow, right? Yeah, we may have had a couple of barracks out in the middle of the map. That's nice and all. But in reality, we are waiting for some upgrades to finish up. We're going to try and fish for some damage. But I think Clem, he now knows the style that ByuN is going for. And he's clearly struggling against it. He doesn't really have a great answer. Now, though, look at them. These are Templar that are so high that they believe they can levitate off the ground. And they're so high that they actually can. Now, we do have a little bit of aggression, too. Wouldn't mind drop in the natural expansion. Medevac drop as well over in the main. Push over here with the main army over at the third. ByuN decides to suddenly, spring into motion in 3 different locations at once. And that is 20 workers down the drain. There we go. A little bit of confidence. 21 probes in total have died now. Looks like the medevac also in the top left ended up falling there in the end. But that is pretty much GG. Although, it's one of the big strengths of the High Templar. Even when you're dead, as long as you have High Templar, it's really difficult for the opponent to actually get the job done. This mass dropping is what ByuN... This mass dropping is what set ByuN on the board years ago. He still does it today. Now, what exactly has changed about the High Templar Storm, right? I keep highlighting it. Long story short, they've adjusted a lot of stuff. The first thing is that energy recharge is now slightly weaker. And that obviously affects not just hallucinated Phoenix Scouts, but also High Templar. Now, maybe just wait a second here until after this engagement. Ooh, good feedbacks over there. Good storms also do go down. ByuN not really walking out of it with his units at all. In the meantime, there is another push again on the other side of the map. Storm over there used for defense as well. Effectively, what it comes down to is that Storm now deals less damage per second, but it lasts longer. The radius is also bigger, but the cast range of the High Templar is shorter. Now, since the radius is bigger, obviously you effectively, as we have some SCVs also, noticing the weather forecast here. If the radius is bigger but the cast range is shorter, you can still get a similar distance just by using the storm on the edge, right? Like, it all comes down to the same thing. So, what it comes down to is that if you stand in the full duration of the storm, you take way more damage than you did in the past. However, if you pay attention even remotely and you micro out of it, at least if you can find a way to go and move around, right? If you can find a place to move to, then the storm should be somewhat more straightforward to counter. It's just different. And I think a lot of the response has been reasonably emotional, where people are like, it's so hard, it's impossible. It's just that you know, for the 15 years that StarCraft 2 has been around for right now, Storm has been mostly the same. And now with one of those classic abilities, I mean, across the board, probably getting I don't know, it's hard to say if it's a nerf or a buff. I think it's probably a slight buff. But it could certainly be interpreted as a nerf, and maybe that's the reason why players, like, for example, Hero, have not been making it anymore. Why he's been refusing to get the research altogether. You can certainly look at the changes and interpret it as a nerf. But I think across the board it's just different, so it's just harder to really get used to. It's just going to take a little while. The main problem you run into as a Terran player is that you sometimes, right, against the old Storm, say the Storm is right over here, you could decide to, like, take your units and stim through it. But now that the Storm is, like, a bigger surface area, you can still do the same thing, technically, but if you hesitate for even just a moment, or your opponent decides to face you, and you kind of have to, like, stop on the edge of the storm with your charge through it, it becomes all a little bit more complex. It all becomes a little bit more difficult. Honestly, I just like that it's changed. It's fun. I think it's important sometimes to change some of those things up. Even if it doesn't really need to be changed, but just to keep the game fresh. This is a nice push, though. Despite the fact that Clem, gets cleaned up here. Prism escapes and 12 SCVs do go down. Honestly, the fact that Clem was just about down and out in this game and is now finding himself evening it up is quite nice. I think it's important, though, right, for the game to not get too stale. Obviously, we don't really get a whole lot of changes to StarCraft 2, at least nothing all too crazy. I mean, these are by far the biggest patch notes that we've had in years. And I think it's cool. I think it's really cool that we have something like it still happening, you know? Some people would argue that making changes is just going to make things more complex. I've had some people that are in the YouTube comments, for example, saying like, hey, every time I play the game, it's different. How do I know what's going on right now? Because I haven't played in like 6 years and everything changed. It's like, yeah, brother, you haven't played in 6 years. That's a long time. There is always the argument, right, where people are like, well, basketball hasn't changed in about a century. I don't know if it has. I don't know anything about basketball, but I would imagine the rules rarely change. Yeah, I can kind of believe it. Anyways, ooh, big EMP over here, though. You gotta be careful. That Protoss army is looking quite dangerous. Obviously, Storm also deals friendly fire, right? So you have to be careful that you don't dance with your own zealots inside of the storm. Yeah, there is an argument to be made to never change a game and to just sort of let it run its course. Because that's what we've been doing with traditional sports for a very long time, and they're still around. But I think that's exactly what's so cool about, you know, esports. Ooh, nice push over here. Viking numbers, though, are pretty darn high. And it's also not entirely true. We do see changes to traditional sports as well. In Formula 1, obviously, they build new cars every season. The rules always change. in football, I guess, like the big one that we've had for the last bunch of years is these video referees, right? That wasn't a thing when I was younger. It all makes a pretty significant difference. But in StarCraft, obviously, you have Blizzard that, like, owns the game. And they obviously are technically, like, I guess you could call them, like, the governing body of the game. I mean, they should have charge over that sort of thing. And it's nice to have that. Whereas, like, chess, it's a lot more difficult, right? Like, who owns chess? Good luck. Good luck trying to make that claim. I'm sure there's places that tried to make that claim. But it's much more difficult to create one centralized balance update to a game like chess. Anyway, so far, the players have been... Ooh, they've been going back and forth like we have been seeing so far throughout this series. Stargate coming up right now for Clem. Liberator production has kicked in, but apparently Clem has decided to mix it up. We have seen, of course, what happens in the previous games. If you let ByuN play these sort of games out, he is just an absolute monster. And ByuN is going for the slow grind yet again. This time around, though, we have Storm. Ooh, good EMP there once more. Disruptors, Colossi, Storm, all of this is super tough for the Terran player to deal with. But Clem is now also going to try and fight those Liberators, I think at least, with Skytles of his own. I would imagine we go Tempests. Carriers are also a choice. Yep, there we go. Fleet Beacon, second Stargate. +1 air weapons is already researching inside of the Cyber Core 2. Let's see what we can do with this. Base over here on the left side. Clem again gobbling up as many of the map's resources as possible. But we've already seen what ByuN can do. ByuN not really too concerned about it. Mostly just trying to play SimCity on his side of the map. Clem sitting, by the way, at 74 workers, which is a healthy amount. But I wouldn't mind seeing some more. Feedback over there. Snipies are good though. ByuN making it difficult here for the Protoss to move up. Now, he's also having a difficult time trying to secure the base. Ooh, we're not gonna go Tempest. We're going Carriers. That's a curious one. Double Cyber Core, by the way. It's gonna be for double Skytles upgrades. Now, this is where that Viking buff is going to be real handy for ByuN. So they're 25 minerals cheaper each. They're going to be good against Colossi. They're going to be good against Tempest. They're going to be good against motherships. They're going to be good against carriers. They're good against anything that flies, assuming you don't fly into the storm. At this point, though, I don't think ByuN knows. He hasn't seen any of the Skytles units yet. Man, this map is incredibly bright. I can barely see the circles. Can we add a dark mode to Winter's Madness? Somebody get a Zerk in here and get it to creep the whole place up. Anyways, Liberators are coming. But Carriers are going to be a bit of a surprise. +2, by the way, is real nice. It makes Carriers way better. Carriers are one of those units that benefit from upgrades tremendously. Going after the armory over here is really quite nice, too. The damage upgrade of Carriers goes directly to the Interceptors. And the Interceptors all shoot twice each. So once on the left, once on the right side of the ship. And obviously each carrier carries 8. Meaning that with one attacking upgrade, you effectively get +16 damage for every time a carrier shoots, which is just absurd. Obviously the armor upgrades also help, but they just reduce incoming damage on the carrier itself. You can't directly target fire the Interceptors. Although I would imagine the Interceptors also get the armor upgrade. Interceptors, by the way, have 80 health. Did you guys know that? There you go. There's your StarCraft trivia for today. An Interceptor has 80 HP. 80 HP. Not ADHD. 80 HP. They've got 80 health. 40 shields. 40 health. Significantly more than a Marine, which I've always found kind of interesting. Especially considering a carrier can just rebuild them himself. ByuN is preparing for the late game, though. We're already there, but he's building up 4 additional command centers. I like this here from Clem, right? This is why casting the full series is so much fun. Because we get to go ahead and have a look at what the new response is going to be. Clem has now tried to play against ByuN's late game twice over, and it turns out ByuN is a very tough turtle to crack. ByuN looking very powerful in the late game, so Clem has decided to shift gears. Carrier goes down though. But still, this is a Protoss army that packs a punch. Yeah, I don't really love this move here. Keep in mind, interceptors can also take Storm to the face. Missile turret guy having a good time. Marine Marauder push all the way up north. Okay, gonna kill the probes and the Nexus with ease. Clem having the unlucky position of being maxed out. So he couldn't really find an opportunity there to warp in reinforcements to keep the base alive. Tempests are going to be added into the mix too. Tempests very popular these days because they are one supply lighter than carriers. The patch prior to the one that we are playing on right now reduced their supply cost by 1. How many starports do we have? 3. Okay, I think 3 is good. I thought maybe we'd still be sitting on 2, but I think 3 is correct. You gotta get those armor upgrades as well, though, inside of the armory. Tactical nukes! Let's go! You love to see it. Okay. This is going to be a proper bloodbath. We're already arriving at a split map scenario. Look at that. There's just this base still for ByuN, and then the one in the far top right. This is looking like another very long match. Ay, ay, ay. Sometimes I wonder, right? Uploading this as a YouTube video, is it too long? Like, what's the upper limit of a StarCraft cast on YouTube? Because I think we're coming up on like a, I don't know. It's a very real chance this is going to be like an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. Is it too much? I'm sure there's folks that will skip it because it's too long. Which is not what she said. Anyways. Nice little snipey over here, though. If you are enjoying this on YouTube, by the way, please do me a favor and hit the like button down below. It really does help. I love doing long casts. Obviously, I try to not be aware, right, of how long a series is going to be. Ooh, big recall. Yeah, that's the end of that push. I mean, you can kind of guess that a TVP between Clem and ByuN is going to go the distance, especially on the new patch. But let's see, though. Nice multi-pronged pushing here by ByuN, forcing the recall up north and then using that as an opportunity to push down south. Ooh. And suddenly, those 25 minerals on the Vikings are looking really freaking nice. Seriously, we've had 26 Vikings die. We have 16 right now. We've had like 40 plus Vikings in this game, all costing 25 minerals less. Dude, whoever the Terran lobbyist in the Balance Council is that keeps calling for these random Terran buffs, you are doing a really good job. I don't know who it is, man. I can make a guess. I think I know, but I'm not going to name any names. But every patch over the last 4 or 5 years has had like random Terran buffs in it. And all of them look like whatever. Like, you look at the 25 mineral cost reduction on a Viking, you're like, I don't know who asks for that. Tactical nuke is going to go in. But also, I'm not really going to complain about it. Tactical nuke onto all of the static defense here. Vikings are starting to break through this. Storm, though, seriously needs to be considered here by the Terran. I don't know what prompted the Viking change. That's what was kind of... That's what kind of confuses me, you know? Like, what prompts the Viking change? I don't know. None of the things that Vikings are used for are buffed. So, like, if you would say Colossi are way buffed now, Skytos is way stronger. I don't know. Nothing here has really been changed on the side of the Protoss as far as that goes, but still we do end up buffing the Viking. Anyway, the Storms here are a real counter, though. The Tempests are nice, but the Storms are the real counter here. It may make Terran versus Terran better. I can see that. Because in TVT, yeah, there might be an opportunity where cheaper Vikings would make the matchup better overall. Ooh, huge EMP. Yeah, this is immediately going to prompt ByuN to go in, but he's dancing in a storm. Dude, that storm lasts so long. It's a mess over here, man. Both players trying their best to get an engagement going. That EMP prompted ByuN to move forward, but then he stood in the storm that was still there. Clearly not used to how long it lasts. Okay. Carriers are apparently no longer what we're building. Tempests, it is. I love the addition of the Oracle for Revelation. I think making balance changes, though, with mirror matchups in mind, when they also affect the other two matchups, is always a bit dumb. Like, we had that change to the Sentry, where Sentries now deal bonus damage to units with shields. That was some time ago. Obviously, that only affects PvP. Those I don't mind. But this seriously affects this matchup, and to a lesser extent, Terran versus Zerg as well. I don't know. I find it a little random. Anyways, Marines and Marauders pushing through the center of the map. They will be able to take out this Nexus easily, but not the most important base. It looks like, in the meantime, we're losing an expansion down south. This base for position is nice for Clem, but this base for mining is far more important for ByuN, relatively speaking. What about the base over here on the high ground, though? EMPs are going to prevent those High Templar from using Storm. Nice target firing as well on the pylon, and it looks like, yeah, ByuN is going to be able to take care of this in a heartbeat. And that suddenly makes it 2 bases for 1, which is obviously really, really good right here for our South Korean Terran player. Those Vikings are putting in work, man. No fungal growth for Protoss. No parasitic bomb for Protoss. Difficult to punish a Terran player that is going Mass Viking. The mistake is usually on the side of the Terran from flying into the storm for too long. Obviously, that's not really something that Clem in this instance has a whole lot of control over. Okay. A whole lot of mules right over here. Quickly giving the Terran player another boost of income. And this is what I was starting to get a little bit worried for. ByuN doing it yet again against a vastly different unit composition this time around. He's okay taking a massive economic deficit. And then slowly but surely grinding it out. Super difficult playstyle right here from ByuN, by the way. Like, this is a couple misrallied Vikings. But this is by no means an easy goal to achieve. There are so many ways in which you can accidentally lose against Protoss. Margin for error is so freaking tiny. But ByuN again with the slow grind out, man. Ay, ay, ay. Leaving 0 reps in reserve here. Playing to the absolute level of exhaustion, but getting the job done, it seems. Although this is not over yet. Clem's army is massive. But his income is starting to dwindle. And that has me a bit concerned. Rarely do you trade very cost effectively here as a Protoss. And ByuN has got some good mining still over here, and then another expansion in his back pocket that I don't think is very harassable for Clem either. Still though, not the end of the world. Interestingly enough, Clem has too much gas, ByuN has too many minerals. So we're back to mass marine production. EMP, good EMP, massive EMP. Couple storms though coming in from the side, careful! ByuN, run out of that! Ooh. Okay, ByuN dancing in the storm for a little bit too long again. Disruptor Nova coming through as well. And that's what I'm talking about. Even when you do get the EMP off, there might just be another High Templar moving in from the top. You never really are guaranteed that it's the entirety of the Protoss army that you got. ByuN taking too much damage there for just a moment. Takes a nosedive in the supply count because of it. Gets a couple of those High Templar yet again, though, on the high ground. A new command center, by the way, is building. Where are we building it? Oh, just straight up on location. Fair enough. Base at the bottom, by the way, is going to be remade again, too. Looks like ByuN has found an opportunity to potentially move in here. He's running through the storms. Ah! Is this the way to do it? Well, that certainly dealt more damage than it did in the previous patch. ByuN needs to be careful that he doesn't throw it, man. Oof, backing up and going through the storm is just so dangerous. So in the past, I believe Storm in total did 85 damage. Now it deals like 30 damage more than that. Which is a whole lot for a load of these low HP units. So you gotta be so careful about it. 80 damage was already really good. Obviously that means you have to stand in the full duration of the ability, right? Which technically should never be happening anymore. At least not at this level of the game, but when you're playing at 475 APM, you still find yourself sometimes a little bit too slow. This is the big one, though, right here for ByuN. He secured the base in the far top right, and there's really nothing Clem can do about it. So this is looking like one of those situations where Protoss is going to slowly fizzle out. And I think Clem is reading that as well, but he needs to look for an opportunity to still get the job done. He's fully maxed out, pretty much. He's missing a few upgrades, but none of them are too important. +3 shields is nice, +2 or +3 air armor is nice. But I don't think anybody would consider that critical. ByuN likewise, I would really like to see him get the +3 for the air armor, just because he's got more resources to play with. Still though, the Protoss eco is not terrible. Shutting this one down is big though. I think this is 100% the right thing to go about it. And we are a few minutes away from Clem being mined out. Storm on the ramp, storm on the ramp. Careful. Stalkers over here as well inside of the main base. There's one Dark Templar joining in too, having a good time slicing up some of those blind Terran units. They can't see him. Little squad over here at the bottom of the map also gets killed. I mean, sure, ByuN may have an income advantage, but it's nothing really to write home about. As a matter of fact, Clem has restarted pro production here. He's got this mineral line in the bottom left corner of the map, and it has a good, healthy number of resources still remaining. This is another easy expansion, though, for ByuN. I feel like ByuN needs to go take it. We could fly one of the old mains over. He's got 200 energy on that orbital, by the way. I really feel like we should use some of the energy here. Anyways, more storms are landing on top of his army. Vikings, though, have to be careful that they're not going to hang out there for too long. And that's every single one of those Vikings -1 getting destroyed. ByuN clearly not used to how long storm lasts. He's paying the price. He's losing way more units to Psystorm in this game than he has before. That's the only weakness that Vikings really have in this matchup, and that is the fact that they are so microable that they clump together. Looks like finally we're gonna get some revenge by killing the Templar archives. So, yeah, Clem would have to rebuild it if he wants to make more Templar. He's got 11 of them right now, though, which is pretty nice. Medevac drop in the top left may actually be in the nation. Yeah, this is not gonna go home. That's a lot of units, man. That's like 30 supply worth of Terran that is likely not gonna go back. He is using this as an opportunity right now, though, yeah, to maybe go in for a multi-prong push with such a big portion of the Protoss army distracted. Is there enough for the Terran player to break through all of those mining bases right now? ByuN with a little bit of missed move commanding here, somehow, some way. In the top left, still lasting all the way through. He probably expected a recall. Feedback onto the Oracles. Very disjointed engagement here, but this Protoss army is still huge, man. ByuN is playing this like he's got the game in the bag, but he's missing this base. Why does he not have this base? He's almost considering this Protoss army irrelevant. Which is a little bit disrespectful to the High Templar, man. ByuN has no Vespene. Now finally he secures this expansion. Making it difficult for himself. Again, another push over here at the 6 o'clock base. One storm. Pre-split from ByuN, though, has been good. One Stalker now sees that this base is being acquired. Clem decides that he wants all of his units in one big ball, rather than have it split up yet again. No mothership available for him, so he doesn't really have the opportunity to, like, do a mass recall like that. Let's see. Mules are real good, though. But ByuN has minerals for days. 1,500 minerals. Yeah, you can make mass marine. This is a Protoss army that eats marines for breakfast. Rocks over here are absolutely getting ravaged as well. Excellent work, ByuN. Destroy those rocks. This is the... Oh, I guess they were still here, so I guess I'll kill them. Moment of the game. Is this it? Is this when ByuN decides to pull the trigger? There's plenty of storms available in this Protoss army, though. Zealots coming in as well from the north. We have a flank from the Terran player on the bottom of this engagement, but I think this fight is good for Clem. Oh. Previously, we've had games where Clem let an advantage slip through his fingers. But I think right now we are witnessing the opposite. ByuN was massively ahead in this game and is now finding himself with the writing on the wall. GG gets called. And it's ultimately the Protoss player, Clem, here, who obtains the victory. What a phenomenal series of StarCraft 2. A 3-2 victory. And that does mean that in the last 31 encounters, aka the 31 times that these two have played against each other in 2025 so far, Clem has now won 28 out of 31. With Protoss against ByuN's Terran. The curse will be broken one day, I'm sure. I mean, ByuN was ridiculously close here, but today is not that day.